Rheinmetall and Ukroboronprom have created a joint venture. The company will service and repair equipment supplied by our partners to Ukraine. Also, at this enterprise, the localization of production of leading models of Rheinmetall AG equipment will take place. Of course, it's not a Taurus missiles, but not bad either. At the same time, New York Times reports that Ukraine and the United States have created hybrid air defense systems. The publication writes that the Frankenstein program makes it possible to launch modern anti-aircraft missiles from modernized Soviet launchers. One option combines so-called Buk launchers and Sea Sparrow missiles. The other combines Soviet radars and Sidewinder missiles. And they have been already tested at military bases in the United States and will enter service with the Ukrainian armed forces this fall. Also, good news was reported by the Reuters source. The report on the procedure for Ukraine's accession to the European Union is expected to be published on November 8. The purpose of the report is to provide an assessment of Ukraine's progress in fulfilling the conditions for joining the European Union. The publication of this report is a key stage in deciding whether the European Union will start accession negotiations with Ukraine. A decision on the start of official accession negotiations with Ukraine is expected at the European Union Summit on December 14. Also, as reported by UA War Infographics, Ukraine will implement 40% of NATO standards by the end of this year. Out of 1,122 NATO standards, 287 have already been adopted in Ukraine, and about 200 more will be introduced by the end of 2023. NATO standards, in particular, regulate intelligence in ground operations, mine tactics, civilian control over the army, and preventing of corruption. More than 400,000 Russian soldiers are fighting in Ukraine. There is no question of repeating the scenarios that happened in February 2022, but in certain areas, yes, the enemy will continue to try to carry out separate offensive operations. The occupiers also brought in additional batch of S-300 type missiles for attacks on Ukrainian border cities to Russia. In particular, a new batch of modernized missiles with the ability to strike ground targets was delivered to the Russian Bryansk area. The enemy has an advance to the west of Krasnohorivka city on the Avdiivka direction. In the area of Avdiivka, the Russians are climbing like mad zombies. Despite the heavy losses, they don't stop their assaults. Russia mobilizes approximately as many occupiers as they die in a month in Ukraine. Even British intelligence states that Russia suffered some of the worst losses in 2023 in Avdiivka city, and the New York Times claims that the fighting for Avdiivka city, Ukrainian Avdiivka, has become the bloodiest since the beginning of the war. Look, this is Avdiivka at night, branch of hell on earth, which was created in Ukraine by terrorists from Russia. But Avdiivka stands. It has still defenders, like the whole of Ukraine. Forbes confirms that in the last month, with the help of drones, the Ukrainian armed forces destroyed more than $140 million worth of Russian equipment. The most expensive recorded loss of the Russians for the past month is the Thor air defense complex worth $60 million. Also, the Wall Street Journal reports that in October, Ukraine launched an ATACMS missile against the Russian military for the first time. The missiles were secretly transferred to Ukraine in mid-October. According to ICW, Russia has about 4 million artillery shells remaining, which could be used for low-intensity combat operations within another year. At the same time, North Korea could fill Russia's reserves by providing up to 500,000 shells. At the current rate of use of about 10,000 shells per day, such reserves could supply Russia for a month. It is noted also that North Korea is likely capable of providing further supplies. John Kirby confirms that North Korea has sent more missiles to Russia than the European Union to Ukraine. North Korea supplied Russia with 1,000 containers of weapons and ammunition for use in the war against Ukraine. The weapons were loaded onto a Russian ship and then transported by rail to Tikharetsk in Krasnodar region of Russia. In exchange, North Korea expects to receive surface-to-air missiles, armed vehicles, and combat aircraft. Satellite images of the Washington Post show that over the past 2 months, Russian ships have repeatedly picked up cargo from North Korea and delivered it to a Russian military port. The insider source reports that the manufacturers of Kinzhal and Iskander missiles from Russia Federation receive components from Europe to bypass sanctions. Contractors supply goods from Poland, Germany, Lithuania and the United States to the Russian corporation called Design Bureau of Mechanical Engineering, which manufactures Iskander and Kinzhal missiles. Currently, Russia's missile production has exceeded pre-war levels, despite sanctions. Russia is increasing production capability and expanding factories for the production of drones, aircraft and missiles. Forbes remains us some numbers. Russia has already spent $22.8 billion on missile attacks on Ukraine and continues to increase their production. However, European Union and the countries of Central Asia have agreed to resist Russia's attempts to circumvent sanctions. The foreign minister of the countries of Central Asia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan, agreed to continue cooperation with the European Union countries in the fight against Russia's attempts to circumvent sanctions. Also, it recently became known that the Russian Terrorist Federation is studying the possibility of attacking a major city in Ukraine with a space rocket with a large amount of explosives. One of the publications obtained recordings of conversation between the Rogozin, the ex-head of Roscosmos, and Baranov, the general director of the Progress Rocket and Space Center. Among the possible risks, they voiced whether the rocket could explode when hit or fall into the territory of the Russian Terrorist Federation itself. And the error during impact can range from 50 to 100 kilometers. According to statistics, for only one Kyiv, over the past 20 months, Russian occupiers have launched in the direction of the capital more than 300 cruise missiles of various types, 16 ballistic missiles, and almost 400 drones of Iranian Shahed drones type. But our defenders and the commander-in-chief made almost an iron dome over Kyiv. In the capital, the defense consists of mobile fire groups, anti-aircraft missile system of various ranges. Our mobile groups have an anti-aircraft missile complex like Igla, Strela, Stinger and other. Also, we are getting new air defense system, and also Kyiv is protected by other complexes like Buk, Nasam, IRIS-T or Patriot. So it's really like an iron dome. The Economist published a powerful interview. The commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, Valery Zaluzhny, talked about what he needs to defeat Russia. And here we have collected the main thesis for you. Technology. Technology is a key because war is becoming positional. Ukraine not only stopped the invasion of a much stronger enemy, but also liberated a significant part of its territory. The war is now entering a new phase, what the military calls positional warfare of static and guerrilla combat. Unfortunately, this will benefit Russia, allow it to restore its military power, which will ultimately threaten the armed forces of Ukraine and the state itself. Ukraine's armed forces need key military capabilities and technologies to emerge from this kind of war. The most important now also is air power. Control of the sky is essential for large-scale ground operation. At the beginning of the war, Ukraine had 120 combat aircraft, and only one-third of them were usable. The Russian Air Forces has suffered huge losses. Ukraine has destroyed more than 550 air defense systems, but occupiers maintain a significant advantage over us and continue to create new strike squadrons. This advantage made it difficult for us, Ukraine, to move forward. Russian air defense systems are increasingly preventing Ukrainian planes from flying. Our defense is doing the same with Russian, of course. Ukraine needs to hunt Russian drones with our own hunter drones equipped with nets. Then, Ukraine has already created many proprietary electronic protection systems that can prevent jamming. But we also need greater access to electronic intelligence from our allies. The third task is counter-battery fire, damage to the enemy's artillery. In this war, as in most past wars, artillery, missile and rocket fire constitute from 60 to 80% of all military engagements. The effectiveness of weapons such as the Excalibur and American GPS-guided projectiles has declined dramatically due to improvement in Russian electronic warfare. Russia's own counter-battery fire has improved. This is mostly due to the use of so-called Lancet munitions that work in conjunction with reconnaissance drones. So far, we have managed to achieve parity with Russia due to more accurate firepower, but Ukraine needs to create our local GPS fields. The fourth task is demining technology. As Ukrainians break through the minefields, Russia quickly replenishes them by releasing new mines from a distance. Also, we need radar-like sensors that use invisible pulses of light to detect mines in the ground, and smoke extraction system to hide the activities of our mine clearance units. And the fifth and last priority is to build up our reserves. Russia actually failed to use its huge advantage in manpower. Positional war is a long war that carries huge risks for the armed forces of Ukraine and for its state. If Ukraine is to break out of this trap, we will need all of those things: air superiority, vastly improved electronic warfare and counter-battery warfare, new mine technology, and the ability to mobilize and train more reserves. Well, therefore, all positions are already defined. This is a war to the end. War of the civilized world with the barbarians. Our commanders-in-chief wrongly thought, from the point of view of humanity, that a large number of dead Russian occupiers in Ukraine would end this war. But actually no. Dictators don't spare people's lives, especially their own people's lives. And our partners should already understand this and speed up military aid. Well, that was all main news for today. Thank you for staying with us at Yakovlev channel. Share our videos, help with donation for our defenders. Glory to Ukraine and to our defenders. See you next time.